Hello, this is the Harboring Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. So, feedback is important. Feel free to reach out to me either through email, Substack, X, and of course, fill up those comments on YouTube. It would be greatly appreciated. All right, so some of the audio platforms that I'm on: Spreaker, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora. And these are just to name a few. All right, so this episode is all about the song. If you know that tune, fill up the comments or send me an email. Without further ado, here we go. I am going to talk about Christmas Wrapping by the Waitresses. All right, let's listen up. Do 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 do, boo biddy boo bidoo, do biddy bum biddy dee, dee 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 doo dee doo, do biddy doo dee dee, na 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 na. Scooby-Doo-Doo-Doo-Doo, Scooby-Doo-Doo-Doo-Doo, a-doo-doo-doo, a-doo-doo-doo, a-da-doo-doo, yeah. All right, so I am digging into the AI-generated response about Christmas wrapping, and I'm going to go into even more depth and expand onto this with an article about this song. So here's the AI generated response. It says, written as a rush job, Chris Butler, the guitarist and songwriter, wrote the song in July of '81 as a response to his label's request for a Christmas song. He had only a few days to come up with something. So the tunes were unfinished. Butler assembled various unused snippets of a song and wrote Christmas Wrapping in a taxi on the way to the studio to record it. So the atmosphere of the song was inspired by New York, and particularly the scenes in the movie Miracle on 31st Street inspired the feeling, the atmosphere of the song. So rap influenced the song as far as style. So the song featured a spoken style that can be considered rapping. And so it's also a commentary on the rise and the influence of rap in 1981. So there was a song by Curtis Blow, Christmas Rapping, not, and play on words, rapping, and then rapping as the lyrical rapping is quite interesting. So in '79, Curtis Blow wrote Christmas Rappin', which was the first rap song released on a major label. So, released on a Christmas record. The song appeared on the compilation album A Christmas Record in '81 alongside other unlikely holiday songs by artists like Suicide, Material, and Was Not Was. So, initially met with skepticism. The Waitresses were not thrilled about writing a Christmas song, and Butler had said as was the most unbelievable Scrooge at the time. Covers and adaptations. The song has been covered by various artists, including the Spice Girls, Kids Bop, and Glee, and has also been revoked for modern times, such as Hammond's 2020 version, Christmas Wrapping 2020. All I Want for Christmas is a Vaccine. Okay. That's ridiculous. But, yeah, let's move on. But, I mean, this again, okay, this proves the point about the aspects of how influential music is to a society. See, this propaganda bullcrap here by using a song to say, oh, yeah, it's so cool. All I want is a vaccine, to hype up mass hysteria about the corona beer virus here. Anyway, I'd like to know what y'all all think about that. So, okay. Financial benefits. As a semi-holiday classic, Christmas rapping has generated significant royalties for Chris Butler over the years, allowing him to maintain his avant-garde lifestyle. So, cult following. Despite not being a traditional Christmas song, Christmas rapping has developed a dedicated fan base and remains beloved by holiday classics. All right, so that was the AI-generated response. And so now I'm going to go into first I'm going to give my thoughts, and then I'm going to go into an article about it, and then there we go. Okay, so my thoughts. So the Waitresses, interesting group. So even though it's one of those weird things that when a group gets labeled as a one-hit wonder, they don't necessarily give the aspects of all the other songs that they've done. For instance, the Vinyls with the infamous "I You Know What" with Myself, and that song was seen as a one-hit wonder for them when they were in themselves a pretty prolific Australian rock band. And it's unfortunate the passing away of the lead singer, but her legacy, still persists, and that's the great part about it, passing on to different generations with music. However, my point here is that the Waitresses, these particular bands, they have a unique sound beyond what the mainstream, perceived thought is about the band. And so, they went on the wave of the youth culture, particularly with a show like Square Pegs. And so I would watch that show really little, and when it was in its syndication reruns, of course. But that show, which was really interesting about the 80s, it was more and more on the cusp of showing youth culture and getting on in the inner day-to-day lives of what teens, and this so forth go through. And so it's quite interesting. My husband and I, this past summer, saw a documentary, and I see his face, but it's fading me. So he was a part of the Brat Pack, and he was the one that came up with this documentary. And so I encourage y'all, if you're interested, to check it out. It's on Hulu, and it's called The Brat, something like that. But look it up. It's on Hulu. So anyway, I'm just going off of memory here. And I don't know why his name is fading me. Hold on, let me look it up. 'Cause he was the love interest, the rich guy, and that's not fair to say, and Pretty in Pink. Hold on, let me look it up. Okay, Andrew McCarthy. Okay, so Andrew McCarthy was the one that spearheaded this and produced. I think he produced and directed. I'm not, but and so he was going to all his fellow co-workers that were all part of the Rat Pack asking questions, and then also with the different producers and everybody and asking them, and then he eventually went to the source that deemed the Brat Pack as, pretty much essentially spoiled brats. And, why did you do this? And then, we had to reshape our careers. And so essentially it was a thing where, he had an agenda approved he wanted to get famous out of being, the nasty person. And so it's one of those things where, you own what you are, essentially what it is getting to the point of doing that, of, when you realize that things change. And so my point is about bringing this up is with a band and then bands like this, the Waitresses, they have a new unique edge in the cups and the atmosphere of music, specifically in this era in the 80s when, it's not fair to say, but it's one of those catch-all terms when they say new wave. Like, what does that actually mean? I guess a new form of music, sort of per se. And so the 80s was pretty infamous about that, of just slapping on labels and not actually taking the interest of what the musical artists, genre where they actually belong and what their music is actually about. For instance, he passed on now, Ozzy Osbourne, and bands like him being mislabeled, and then, things of that nature. But going back to the point here is that they give a interesting perspective about the aspects of modern society, and particularly getting into the aspect of Christmas, of the aspects of, what is thought about and the modern sense about Christmas. And I think this song even proves a point about the imagery that the Waitresses brought to the music scene at that time, and then continue to do. Okay, so I'm going to extend everything and my final thoughts about the aspects of Christmas, particularly in the from my point of view of what I think about the aspects going on, from what was presented from a historical sense, and then, the culture around that, the messages, final thoughts, and the messages relaying to Christmas in the 80s. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to get into an article about the song, and then, of course, give my final thoughts. Here we go. And, of course, this source will be provided for you in this episode. So I'm reading from Tampa Bay Times. So it's the story behind Christmas wrapping by the Waitresses. And this was published December 5th of 2016, and it's by Steve Spears. So it goes on to say, for the record, the excellent website SongFacts has the complete story behind it, and I'm going to go on to SongFacts. So they pretty much, what they wrap up is, they say which was the main, the producer, the main person behind the group. So it says, this is him responding and answering questions from SongFacts. It said, at the time I was Scrooge, told Song Facts some friends who knew me well had a T-shirt made for me that says, going on the lines making a joke that I still have it. Still with scraps of previous songs, Chris managed to piece together the story of a woman who meets a guy at a ski shop and gets his phone number. As the years drag on, the pair keep missing out of opportunities to make a date. Finally, while planning a Christmas meal alone, she runs into him at a grocery store, where he too is shopping for a meal for one. Ta-da, magic. As it seems, Chris admits the story is influenced by Christmases that he himself suffered through alone. One small change, the grocery store he had in mind was actually a chain called Smiller's, but he decided that A&P would work better for the lyrics. The final release of the song didn't make a dent in the charts in the first year. Subsequently, reissues allowed to have it gradually grow more and more popular over the years. Critics have generally heaped praise on the song's charm, and fellow musicians have recorded it as well. So I'm going to go on to Song Facts here. Okay, doing this live here. Well, live as I'm recording it, that is. Okay, bear with me here. Okay. That's interesting. Let me see. Song Facts. Do it this way, see if that works. All right, so here we go. And I'm going to provide this source for you too. So it says, was saying the founder, Chris Butler, in the song, a woman meets, as I said, a woman meets a guy at a ski shop and gets his number. And it goes on to say the woman is exhausted and ready to spend Christmas alone. As the years go by, they make dates, but for a different reason, they can't get together. So because of this, she gets exhausted and she spends her Christmas alone. But when she goes out for cranberry sauce to complete her meal, she runs into a guy and finds out he is also spending the holidays alone. Finally, they get together, giving her a Christmas after all. So, as I was saying, this is a play on words with the Christmas rapping of 1977 of Curtis Blow, which was, again, the first rap song to be released on a major label. So, in 1981, rap music was just starting to enter the mainstream, and the Waitresses used an unspoken style that could be considered rapping. Also, Chris Butler liked to play on the word rap, since the story wraps around coming full circle at the end. And it's very interesting, having that mind space, being that with creativity. And I appreciate people who understand the emphasis of storytelling and then understanding how paying attention to the details, how that really is a gift and give more of an impact when you go beyond and use metaphors, literary art forms in order to, I see it as, in order to express, what could be just a cut and dry situation. All right, so inspirations for this song came from the magical Christmas feeling, as I was mentioning, of about Miracle on the 34th Street. And so that's the idea that things will somehow work out in the end. There's a feeling in New York that there is something in the background cooking around that time of year, Chris Butler said in the Soundfacts interview. It does make things work out okay. So in 1981, the song was released as a single and appeared on the compilation A Christmas Record, which features Christmas songs by various ZE record artists, including David Zigerson. So the song got some airplay in America, and another version of the compilation was released the following year. Over the few years, however, the song died out in America. Didn't do so well. The turnaround came in 1987 when a very special Christmas album was released, opening the market for edgy Christmas songs by contemporary artists. As radio programmers filled their holiday playlist with tracks from the album, like I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus by John Mellencamp and Christmas in Hollis by Run DMC, they looked for other songs with a similar feel and plugged in Christmas rapping. The song gradually found an audience and has remained a staple of many Christmas playlists ever since. When Chris Butler wrote this song, he was not feeling very festive. The Waitresses were signed to ZE Records, whose boss, Michael Zakaya, asked the band on his roster to each come up with a Christmas song that would go on a holiday compilation issued by the label. The Waitresses were in the middle of a grueling tour and weren't happy about the task, especially since it was July and they weren't exactly in the Christmas spirit. Butler was a notorious Scrooge, as I was mentioning in the article previously. So this was a particular daunting task. He came out with a song very quickly, writing the last of the lyrics in a taxi from his apartment in New York to Electric Lady Studios, where they recorded it. The end result was a very uplifting Christmas song with a happy ending. So it goes on to say, I think my subconscious wanted something to cure me of my Grinchhood, to fabricate the story where I am in touch with some kind of force in the background that is working for good, he told Soundfacts. It doesn't kind of work out sometimes like this. And it was what people want. A lot of songwriting for me was feeling fantasies of how I wish the world was. That's very unique. That's the unique touch, too, with songwriting, or songwriters. So what they do is, I think it's the ones that can do it well, and they know how to craft that. And what they do is, expel what can't really be said either in written form or just said through conversation. It goes beyond it to where it touches on the level of emotional impact. And so I think that begs the question of real talent there, about singer-songwriter. They have the ability to not only have the masterful talent of being able to perfect the sound with an instrument to where people really like what you're doing, and then you can also write a song that can captivate an audience. That's really something special. All right, so I wish the world was a certain way, and I wish that there really was something wonderful in the background working, especially around that time, that made everything turn out okay. The title does not appear in the lyrics, which made it difficult to request on radio stations. Listeners would often describe the song or sing parts of it to identify it for the DJ. Most Christmas songs evoke traditions and togetherness, but this one is about a girl spending Christmas alone in New York City. Single folks spending Christmas away from their families is an underserved market when it comes to Christmas songs, unless you count the many blue Christmas songs about holiday heartbreak. Christmas Butler has spent some Christmases alone, however, he knew what it is like. I did have to create my own Christmas, he told us. So I put up my own stocking in my non-functional studio apartment and my fireplace that had been bricked up. So in the UK, the song charted when it was first released in 1981 and has remained a holiday favorite. This is a little odd since the song takes place in America and has references to American traditions like eating cranberry sauce with turkey. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up. Say the song had a prolific effect on its writer many years after it was released. Chris Butler fell into a depression after the Waitress broke up in 1984. And enough time had passed that I didn't feel the connection. That's unfortunate. So, the book about a boy and his movie and his TV show adaptation, from that, unpleasant atmosphere there is a beacon of hope here. It says, the book about a boy and his movie and TV show adaptation is about a guy who lives off royalties from a Christmas song. The story isn't too far off from Christmas Butler's, as the song has allowed him to extend his adolescence. So Butler says royalties from the song provided him a comfortable middle-class return. So the A&P mentioned in the lyrics is a chain of grocery stores in the Northeast. The song is propeller, and that our hero finds herself at a grocery store on Christmas, which can really happen in New York, but probably not at the A&P. Chris Butler envisioned the cranberry sauce run taking place in Smiller's, a 24-hour grocery store in the city. He made it an A&P because it fit the line, and A&P has provided me with the world's smallest turkey. So Kylie Minogue and Iggy Pop recorded this Minogue's 2015 Christmas album, Kylie Minogue's Christmas. So there's different mentions about this song. It was in Scream Queens. It was in Vampire Diaries, The Office, Glee, Malcolm in the Middle, Gilmore Girls, and so forth. So Haim released Christmas Rapping, the group, the popular group here, pop group there. Christmas Rapping in 2020, All I Want for Christmas is a Vaccine, which is, as I mentioned, their Hanukkah-centric take on the song. For their update rendition of the Waitress holiday classic, Estate Allen and Delaney Ham teamed up with Slave to play writer Jeremy O'Hare's to pen new lyrics to specific for 2020, from promoting small businesses and reinforcing the U.S. election to cutting their own hair and reminding us to stay in place. The Sisters Trio covered every aspect of the strange year. Their interpretation also features bass by Thundercats and keys from Frank Ocean, collaborating with Buddy Ross. So I'm not quite sure with their vaccine if that's supposed to be satire or not. It would be pretty much of a good, flip you up in the air to say about vaccines. They're good on their part. But if it's not, that's really unfortunate. But, as I mentioned about the aspect of music, you pay attention to it, it really influences culture. All right, so I'm going to get on to my final thoughts. after this. Here we go. All right, so 80s. My thoughts about that would have been like to the aspects of, Christmas scene in the 80s. Of course, to each his own. Everybody has their own ideas, more traditional, more faith-based, Christian-based, with traditions and, but the 70s, launching it a little bit, but more with the 80s and then beyond, pushing the aspect of consumer goods. And then, I can imagine, I seen me being a kid growing up in the 90s. I seen, cartoons, but I'm focusing my thoughts about, advertisement from the 80s. And then how, again, coming up with the cutting edge, what's new, what's relevant. Not everything fast-paced, this, what's next, this. And then, really captivating people's attention. And so that sums up the aspect of seeping into the mainstream. Okay, honey, hold on. The mainstream culture or the mainstream aspect of the 80s, just moving on to the next, just moving, bigger, faster, stronger, just moving on. Now, more, access, more. And then the concept of less is more was pulled up in the realm of things, where the aspects of elegant dining, pushing that point of, paying more for access, for being affluent, for being flash. And so, it is interesting how a song like this, it goes back into the realm of the aspect of breaking into tradition of what is originally thought about when people think about Christmas. Thinking about family, gathering with friends and loved ones. Hold on, sweetie. And just, coming together, relaxing, slowing down, and then, being giving and hopeful and receiving. But, you're spinning this around with this song like this and saying that that's not always the case. And so it's also, I think it's also a testament of the times that was going on in the 80s, particularly with, it was more and more prevalent where people were on the cusp of where normalizing about the aspect of being single and dealing with the day in, day out about that, and the heartbreak of that what can happen with that of the holidays, because the holidays is usually for, families, particularly people who are married or who are engaged or who are in a committed relationship, and then, all the different elements, the stages in that with the relationship. And just, being honest about it is quite interesting. But wrapping it up with a neat bow that it, works out in the end, and it's own way, so to speak. So, yeah. All right, so I like to know, this reaches the end of the Harvard Line. I like to know what you all think about the aspect of songs like this or aspects of unorthodox Christmas songs. So feel free to reach out to me. It's not out here, baby, your pencil. Okay? I have to see, okay, where some more pencils are, okay? All right, so feel free to either reach out to me through email, Substack, X, and of course, fill up those comments in YouTube. It'd be greatly appreciated. All right, so this reaches the end of the Harvard Light. Tune in, turn up, and I'll say this throughout the month of December. Merry Christmas, and of course, on to a Happy New Year. Bye-bye.